This conference will now be recorded.
Hi everybody, Jean here. Welcome back to the Breakthrough to Creativity show. I'm interviewing experts from around the world about how to get to a place where inspiration flows naturally through you and how to see creativity as a sustainable career choice. Today's expert is Sarah Marie Thompson. Sarah is a creative lifestyle expert. She is a mentor and soul guide, and she's founder of a very popular online networking site called Wild and Creative. So Sarah, you're very welcome to the show. How are you today?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for asking me to be a part of this.
So can you tell us a little bit how you got started in this field?
Okay, that's a very long story, but I'll give it to you in the shortest way I know how. Well, okay, so I mean, I do a lot of creative stuff, right? And I was always one of those kids growing up that was like the creative kid. Like, I'm not gonna lie. So I kind of had my foot in the door in that sense. However, most of the people that are watching right now, you will probably, feel into it that, like, being a creative, you don't always know what to do, right? Like, that's the big problem, is we don't know what to do. So going out of high school, I did college, all that kind of stuff, fine arts, all that kind of thing, but I found myself into interior design. And then that's when I created my very first own big business. So I had an interior design business. Things were going really, really good. I was, manifesting a lot of great projects, clubs, nightclubs, developments, all that kind of thing. And I was doing the thing that I loved, and I was really excited about it. But something that was going on behind the scenes was that things did not feel totally in flow. Like, I couldn't put my finger on it. I was attracting people that, like, were not good clients. I was ending up paying for things I shouldn't have paid for, just that kind of thing where you're not feeling in flow. And looking back now, like, I can definitely say that it was because I wasn't fully using my intuition with my business. And I can also say that I was far much too in the masculine energy. There was no balance there. So I did a few years of interior design, probably about 5 or 6 years, and I just remember saying one day, I was like, I need a change. Like, I don't know what's going on. Universe, send me a change. Send me a sign. And I had taken my husband, my boyfriend at the time, to a spa on his birthday to get a pedicure against his will, probably. And I remember sitting in the waiting room, and I look over and I see this little book, and it's 365 Days of Affirmations by Louise Hay. And I didn't even know who Louise Hay was at the time, but I pick up this little book, I'm looking at it, and it's full of abstract art and affirmations. And me being an artist, I had tons of art already, right? I remember looking at this and being like, I can do this. Like, this is something that I should do, something similar, right? And I kind of just like set that goal into motion, like right there. And then the next day, I actually attracted somebody into my interior design life. She was doing a bed and breakfast, and I was one of those like Insta friends, right? Like, you just like know her right away and instant friends. And I was telling her about this little book project that I was going to do, and she was like, I'm great with words, you're great with imagery, like, let's collaborate, let's do something. So, coffee shop after coffee shop, month after month, took about 4 months, and we were almost done this entire coffee table style book full of like stories, quotes, beautiful imagery, very inspiring. The whole idea behind it was that you can be creative every moment of your life. Like, you don't have to be a artist per se, right? We create each moment of our life. And I remember saying to her after about 3 or 4 months, I was like, who's gonna buy our book? Like, we don't have a community. Like, we don't have like just our friends and family, basically. And so I hopped online and I created a Facebook page that was then called Connection to Creative. And I was just pumping like inspiring thoughts, stories, imagery, all that kind of stuff in there. And it blew up before our eyes. Like, 5,000 likes, 20,000 likes, 30,000 likes, 100,000 likes, 150,000 likes. Like, it blew up like crazy. And we weren't even ready to like really energetically receive this. We're like, what do we do? So that was kind of the first start of my online journey. And from there, created a really interactive website that was great for people to learn all about themselves and learn about their creativity. And then a number of years ago, I went my separate ways with my business partner. She just wanted to raise her kids in another country. And I was like, I'm still totally into this. This has always been like my baby, essentially. And so that's when things morphed into Wild and Creative, my brand. That's when more of the mentorship took over, a lot of courses, programs, online interaction, like all that kind of stuff. And so basically I'm here with you today because I opened up that little book. So that's how things start. You know what I mean? It's just about following your inspired thought and following your inspiration and your creativity, and not necessarily being like rigid with your plan, because you know what, we never created that coffee table book. In the grand scheme of things, we never did, because things took off in different ways. And maybe I'll create it again one day, and that'll be a full circle. It'll be amazing. But you know, you just have to look at the different stepping stones that lead you to different places, and be really open and fluid, like with your intuition, right?
Totally, I totally agree with you. And I think that's all about just, living a more creative lifestyle. Even if you're not an artist or a musician, it's just having that openness to go with the flow a bit more. So when you're actually helping people to kind of, tap into their creativity, where do you start with them?
Well, I find that most of the people that I attract have a bit of creative blood like moving through them, right? I mean, we're all creative, but like then there's like the next levels, right? And so I find that most of the people that I attract are like, you know what, I'm really creative, I don't know what to do because I'm doing too many things and I can't let go of anything. And that was my story, absolutely 100%. Like I remember at one point, even say like 7 years ago or so, although I was doing my website, I still had a 9-to-5 job at that time. I was doing a bunch of other little entrepreneurial businesses. I had 6 little businesses that I was doing at the same time. And I just remember feeling back then like, I don't know what to do because I don't want to let go of any of them because one of them could work. And like, I just didn't know like what the answer was. And so I find that that's kind of like where a lot of people come to me at a point in the game, whether they have a business already, they don't know which business to choose, or they don't have anything at all. So it's always like that confusion, like that creative confusion. And when I start working with people, like number one thing that we do first and foremost is we always do a bunch of different alignment work, because I call myself a creative lifestyle expert and soul guide, meaning that I do marry the two creatives, and that is the physical artistic aspect of creation and the mental manifesting aspect of creation. And I teach people how to marry those properly together so that success happens, magic happens. But then there also has to be that alignment part. So your soul is here, and it's got a bit of a mission, right? That's for you to kind of find out. But when we find out what your soul's attributes and things like that are, like that come really naturally to you, that's when it allows you to kind of like let go of a lot of the other things that you just kind of like doing, because you can finally understand and fully focus on like why you're here. So that's a big piece of what I help creatives do at the beginning. It's such an integral part of the process, because again, if you're building a foundation not based on the right wood or whatever, right? Like it's going to come crumbling down at some point. So setting up a really strong foundation for creatives and artists and visionaries is my number one thing with them. And then from there, taking their soul attributes and why they're here and all that kind of stuff, and then creating a really strong business and offering system around that. So it's a perfect combination, because I realized that, and I felt that when I finally figured out what my soul attributes were and why I was really here, not only did I give myself the permission to let go of everything that was like not really serving me anymore, but I was holding on to, it allowed me to just like fully dive in and focus on the stuff that was like, oh, like I know that was why I was here, like in the beginning, right? And it just kind of gives you the permission. So it's a really awesome process.
Yeah, it actually sounds like that was like a creative breakthrough in itself. And I suppose it sounds like just by tapping into that kind of soul energy, that you're talking about, you kind of had that breakthrough experience, which is absolutely phenomenal. And so many people like, would just love to experience that and to change their life in that direction. So it's amazing. So I suppose I was going to ask you, like, are there any kind of skills that people kind of develop, or I guess it just all happens organically, really. Is it? Would you agree with that? Or do you think that we can all benefit from learning some kind of skills to manage this or manifest it?
I'm going to probably say that I don't think there's any specific skill that anybody actually needs, because, we have everything within us already. We just need some help finding out what that is. And so I always talk about, and I created a program around this called Golden Pineapple Project, but I always talk about finding your creative gold. Like everybody has their own creative gold, right? So in the process of alignment, and also interests, we find what your creative gold is. And the thing is, it doesn't matter if you make hats for cats really, really good, or you're an amazing lawyer or what have you, like you have a creative gold. So it's really about finding it and then owning it, and then also finding a way that feels comfortable to you to showcase it to the world. Anybody can do this. Like everybody's good at something, and you don't have to be like, well, I'm not like amazing at anything. It doesn't matter. Like you're good at something in your own way. And that's what's really, really important for you to like own and find out and have that awareness of. So there's no real skill specifically that people need to create. I really don't think so. It's really about those kind of steps, right? It's like finding your soul alignment, right? So you're like feeling good about that and on track, and then really creating something around that marries that mirrors that, right? That is be able to showcase that in a way that feels really good to you. Because I find that there's a lot of entrepreneurs online that are like, well, should I be doing this because, that one lady said I should be doing this way and that kind of thing. And like, of course, there's so much stuff online. We're being inundated with like all this information and how to, but it's good to learn about different things, but you don't have to do it all. You know what I mean? Like just do the things that feel really comfortable and good to you, because if we're pushing and resisting against different things that we don't like doing, like that's not going to make us happy either. So there's a bunch of little things to look at. That's kind of like the work I do, right? I definitely go through all of this stuff with people and really make it much more simple than it sounds. But yeah, again, there's not one specific thing. No.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. So I guess, considering your background is in interior design, so you knew, from the get-go that you were going to work in a creative field, and, you kind of were already there. What about some people who transition from, say, more of kind of like, I don't know, like one of the professions, something that is not technically creative, but then they just know in their heart that it's just not the right thing. I mean, is there kind of like a graceful way to do that without kind of kind of throwing your kind of network into chaos, and everybody thinking you've lost your mind, because you actually know in your heart, I need a change, and I need to, get more aligned with myself, so to speak. So what kind of advice do you give people like who want to do that?
Yeah, and I mean, that really was like my story. I mean, yes, interior design was my first like major career I created for myself, but I had been an entrepreneur in a lot of other ways in that time too, right? I had like a little furniture company, I had a jewelry company, I was an artist, I was doing all these different things. So, I mean, I probably, the real creatives here listening are going to be like, oh, I've done all those things too, because it's just kind of like, what we love. But there was a time too when I first started kind of moving out into the online world. I had a corporate job too. So I was doing my corporate job at the same time. And, I was doing the corporate job. I had to go away all the time for work. I hated it so much. Like I'm a very physical, like homebody kind of like a person. And so I hated going away all the time. And it made me like cry inside, like not inside and outside, like every time I had to go away. And so the interesting thing was like that kind of both started at the same time. And so if you would have asked anybody, like how much, effort and energy are you really putting into your website, it would have been like 100%. Like no doubt about it, 100%. But it wasn't until I finally quit my corporate job that I realized, holy crap, like I was not putting in 100% at all. I thought I was, but like so much emotional energy was going to my other job. Like it was amazing, like how it felt when I finally let that go. So I kind of got to the pivotal moment where for some reason, safety has always been a really big value of mine, right? Like nothing unsafe really ever happened to me, but safety is really like a big value that I had. And so I remember I'm not that great of a flyer. Like I can fly like, on holiday or whatever, but like flying every week, I just like did not like that. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, I feel like unsafe sometimes, like flying. Why am I putting myself through that? Well, I'm putting myself through that so that I have, money. I have a company car, I have free gas, I have all the golden handcuffs, right? I'm putting myself, through that for this. And then I thought to myself, that's really weird that I'm putting myself through the feeling of not feeling safe just for the masking of the negative feelings of feeling as feeling not safe, that I won't have enough money. You know what I mean? Like, it was kind of like a real like play that was happening there. And I was just like, you know what? I have to do something about it. Like, I have to make a change, because the pressure I felt of not living my dream got so much stronger than the fear of me not knowing where all the money was coming from. So I finally was just like, you know what? I owe it to myself to like make the leap, like, and do the jump, right? And I did. And it was like the best thing that I ever did. I know that some people, you know, they're able to do the whole like integration, like transition thing, right? Where they save money and then they can leave their job. But honestly, that's not really realistic for some people. I found that no matter how much money I was making in my corporate job and like the free gas and the free company car and all that kind of stuff, I found that I still just was like never like getting ahead. So I was like, you know what? I'm either not going to get ahead in my job, or I'm not going to get ahead like doing what I love, right? And me taking that leap of faith and really just moving into what I am supposed to be doing, and like just, you know, having faith in the whole process and me doing my thing, it shifted the energy so much. And not only did I start attracting more clients, but I started attracting so much more business with my programs and courses, because my energy was now open. Like, it wasn't being sucked out of me like in another way, right? So that's what we really have to think about when it comes to the whole creation of something big and really wanting to take that leap. It's not just about you saying, okay, it's time, like I've saved some money, let's do this. It's about you saying, okay, if I put all my energy into something major that I believe in, it will work. You know what I mean? Like, it will work to some degree. And then you build on it from there. Right? So that was kind of like my experience. It was one of those ones where I just had to like make the leap. A lot of people have to do that. Some people are great with that transitional thing. That's always helpful, but it's not for everybody. So it's really about, you know, energetically, where is your energy going? Because if it's not going towards your business, it's not going to be that easy for you to gain traction in your business, right?
No, I totally agree with you. And yeah, I mean, I think so many people say, oh, you've got to get your business plan sorted out, you've got to get, you know, all these things sorted out, but sometimes it's just not practical, you know, funnily enough, you know, for people to do that, right? But I just want to go back to the idea of, you know, support, and like how kind of, you know, decisions that we make as creative people can kind of create anxiety in the people around us, you know, because if they don't really know where we're going, or they might be concerned about us. And you have such a great community with Wild and Creative. So, I mean, like, you know, what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of being surrounded by people who kind of, you know, can support you in that field, or what's a good way to manage the people around you in that process?
I will say that, you know, my family's always been supportive, but still, like, with my creative history of trying different things and all that kind of stuff, right, I appeared to be super willy-nilly, like, to them, right? They're like, oh, what are you doing now? And it's funny because, you know, it's not like I tried a lot of things and failed. I tried a lot of things and did well, actually, at a lot of things, but I wanted to make that educational decision for myself to be like, that's not where my heart is. But I'm so glad that I tried that, right? So I think a lot of us do that, but we seem willy-nilly, like, to our family, right? So yes, I had this awesome, great community, the Wild and Creative community behind the scenes. You know, on Facebook, I think there's about 185,000 followers and that kind of thing. And then I have my private group and all that kind of stuff. So yes, there was always that support that was so helpful. And, you know, helpful vice versa, like, you know, other people helping me and me helping others, all that kind of thing. You know what? To make a leap, you don't really need to have the following or that community. Yes, of course it helps. But I mean, I think the thing for us to remember that it's not about the numbers. Like, it's not about having hundreds of thousands of followers on something. You can have hundreds of thousands of followers on something and not gain traction with them, right? Or you can have a group of 50 people and make a ton of money because they fully support you. So it's not about looking at the numbers in total. It's just about knowing that you do have support in some way. If you're not gaining support from your family and friends, and honestly, they're not our ideal clients, so like, don't bother. Don't even go there. but is, do different meetup groups or something like that, entrepreneurial groups, join different groups online. There's so much support that you can actually get if you just search for it and access it, right? It's not like they're going to be searching for you. So, access what you can, get free knowledge where you can. But I also will say that there becomes a point too where, and you've probably talked about this before on different videos of yours, but it is about investing in yourself in some way as well, right? We can try to suck up all the free stuff that we can online. And yes, that's great to some degree, but there comes an energetic point where when you start to invest in yourself, you're saying to the universe, I'm worth it. And hell yes, like I'm ready to move forward in this next direction. If you're always just kind of grabbing the free stuff and, not really investing in your learning and all that kind of thing, then essentially you're saying to the universe, like, I'm just worth the free stuff. Right? So there's all these kind of things to look at, like in your journey. But again, whether it be support that's paid for in a more advanced way or free support that's a great close-knit group community, like it's out there for you, right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And actually, you're the first person that I've been talking to that's actually pointed that out, and I think that's so valuable. Because I think so many creative entrepreneurs or artists, they kind of do tend to try to be a bit of a jack of all trade, and it's not the worst situation to be in if you can build your own website and you can do all of these things yourself. But at the same time, as you say, it's just, you're kind of making a promise to yourself or a commitment to yourself if you do invest in yourself that way, and it's like a long-term kind of plan almost. Yeah.
I mean, we could look at it even very black and white and say, if you're an artist out there, right, and all you're doing is using free paints because you're not willing to go buy yourself some beautiful next level paints, then that's the caliber of your work energetically, right? If you say to yourself, I'm going to invest in some amazing metallic paints and different stuff like that you can tell like the quality is better with them, right? Your work becomes better, not only physically, but energetically, right? So again, this is the exact same story for whether or not you invest in yourself in some way. I'm not necessarily saying a mentor or coach. I'm just saying in some way that brings you energetically to another level, right? Because when we're only skimming the internet for free stuff, that's our energy, is free stuff, right? So, me as an artist, I don't paint all the time, but I certainly have a colorful past of painting and doing a lot of art myself. I definitely know that when I decided to step it up in some ways, that's when I started getting like a lot of showings or like gallery opportunities or like that kind of stuff, right? When we just keep it small and we stay in the shadows and we don't step into the light in some way, and whether that means like energetically, like up leveling, with saying like I'm worth it, then you just kind of stay in the darkness, right? And you can't be mad about the process of that, right? You can't be mad about like saying to the universe, like, why am I not advancing? It's so important that you look at the contradictions in your life. That's something that I really do teach on a lot, is contradictions, because wherever there's a contradiction, there's a block. If there's somebody that wants to get really visible, like online, and they want people to see them and make a lot of money, yet their Facebook profile photo is a flower, like that's a really big contradiction. So it's like, where are you doing that in your life, right? Where do you want to up level, but yet your physical actions are not meeting your desires, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. I guess the only thing I'm thinking of is like people that I know that they literally wouldn't have the funds to invest. They just wouldn't have the few thousand or whatever to kind of up their game. And I mean, what do you think about that when people kind of say, I can't afford it, or I mean, what do you think yourself about that? I mean, do you think it's a real problem, or do you think it's just a mindset thing, or?
I mean, I think that it's a combination of everything, because I was there too. Like, I thought that I could do everything on my own. I thought that I would just read a lot of books and I could figure it all out. And, in my experience, all I can say is from my experience, right? And my experience is that the first business coach that I hired, just to be like, I wonder what she's going to say. Like, I wonder how she could like take all my stuff and like show me what to do with this. The first business coach I hired, wasn't perfect for me in a lot of ways, but I will say one thing is that when it came to the nitty gritty strategy and stuff like that, working with her for the first month, I advanced probably 2 years in what I had been doing, because it finally wasn't just me like being all like critical and self-judgment of all my stuff and working on this and half working on this and all this stuff, and because we're a jumbled mind when it's just ourselves, right? But when we're working with somebody, like whether it be a mentor, coach, or a strategist or something like that, they can simply be like, this doesn't make sense, this is perfect, this is in alignment with you, this is great, you know, that kind of thing. You're like, oh, I can let go of all this other garbage. So I found that to be really, really beneficial. Now I know there's people out there that don't have a lot of money, right? And here's the thing, it's kind of like, I always had that idea for creatives at the beginning. So when I first came on the scenes, a lot of my stuff was very low priced, right? Because I was like, creatives don't have a lot of money. Like, but what I realized is that was doing a disservice to the creative community, because I knew for myself as a creative, if I wanted to make a lot of money, I have to show to the other creative world that they can do that too, right? You have to set an example. So with a creative starving artist or whatever the creative, you know, belief systems are and that kind of thing, you know, it's so important for more confident creatives to really step it up and showcase the light for others, right? So that's what I'm really doing for others now. Yes, I have a lot of different price points in my offering system, but you know, I really do want creative women, especially like all over the world, to allow themselves to up level in a way that not only is empowering, but also like changes the world, right? Because if we're always just kind of staying in the mundane and in the darkness, right? Like we're never going to advance. So just like leading somebody to war, like for our army, someone leading them to war, right? They're never going to be like, guys, you can't afford this. You know what I mean? Like, just we'll stay small here, right? We've got to be like amazing. We've got to be like big and like showcase like what is possible, right? Because as a creative leader, as you are, and so many people that will be watching are creative leaders, like we can't just set the bar somewhere for creatives, right? We have to like, it has to be like limitless. So that's really, really important. So I don't ever want, so to answer your question, like, you know, that's really my answer for it. And the thing is too, if you want something to happen bad enough for you, a change, somehow you'll make it happen. You know, whether or not you save for a while or whether or not you take out a loan or what have you. The thing is, when we invest in ourselves, we're saying to the universe, hell yes. And that's either investing in yourself $200, $5,000 or whatever you're into, whatever you're up for. But the whole idea is what I talk about with my clients. And this is a mindset that they have to get over to when we first start working together. They often say, well, you know, say my program is X amount of dollars, right? And they'll be like, okay, well, you know, if I do it, I can do this and this and this. And I'm like, look, here's the thing, when you're doing something to advance on soul level and your creativity and your expansion, like even financially, the whole idea about you doing something like this is for you to up level, right? You're not going to be the same person that you are today, like when we're done, right? And that's so important that creatives really hold that vision for themselves, because I think that is our default, right? We're like, oh, but when we're done in 6 months, we're going to be exactly the same as we were. We're just going to have this under our belt. Like, that's not the case. It's you are making changes and investing in yourself to become a better version of yourself, right?
Yeah, definitely. And so do you think, so you obviously would be of the school of thought that this is something that can be 100% taught. It's not like we have to be born with it. It's like it's almost like an acquired skill then that we can learn.
Oh, you mean just like advancing?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, again, like I said before, like I've been in dark times, you know, like I've been in times where I thought that like, woe is me, like victim mindset, all that kind of stuff, right? Because I didn't know any better. I've gone through so much teaching and trainings. I've had personally a ton of mentors and coaches myself. I'm always learning and expanding, right? That's just me. That's my personality. That's just me. And I know other people that doesn't come like super natural to them. But yes, I do want to remind you that like our brain is capable of like almost anything. So if you don't think you're creative, and you keep telling yourself that, you're really doing yourself a disservice, because you're cutting off all inspiration. You know, if you want to tell yourself that you can be a successful whatever, so-and-so, tell yourself that, because that's the first start of it, right? So yes, everything is really a form of training, I guess, right? It's all that it's like new conditioning. It's like creating that new paradigm for yourself. And the only way for us to really create a new paradigm for ourselves is to create new habits. And whether that be through mindset mostly, right? But even physical habits, right? So you can change your life. You absolutely can. It's not going to be necessarily easy, but with consistency, you can do it.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And yeah, I think like no matter what age you are, no, it's never too late to start. It's never too late to turn over that new leaf, to change your life. I think yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I have a funny question for you. I guess, this is kind of like an international interview series, and I was wondering, since you've worked with people from all over the world, do you find that some people are more naturally in tune, some cultures are almost more naturally in tune with their creativity, or not?
Well, the first thing that came to mind when you said that actually was like creativity and spirituality like combined. I can't say that really like one culture is more creative more than the other. What I will say though, and this is something I've said for years, is that if everybody was able to express themselves creatively, the world would be a much more harmonious place. So when we look at a lot of cultures that are like in turmoil right now, and countries that are in turmoil, I'm pretty sure that nobody's like, hey, so-and-so, here's a paintbrush, or here, write down your thoughts in this journal, or freedom of speech, right? Like, so we have to look at, I think the answer to that is, and this is a very situational answer, but it's like, where are people allowed to feel free to self-express themselves? Because that's really the answer. So it could be anybody, anywhere, but the thing is, if you're not feeling comfortable self-expressing yourself, you're holding on to a lot of junk, which it doesn't allow you to be creative, right? But it also eats away at you inside. And so creativity is a form of healing. Like I've always thought that. And so self-expression really is the key. It's the key to finding out more information about yourself. It's the key to being creative. It's the key to being inspired. It's the key to everything. It really is. So that's the answer, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad I asked you, because that was really insightful. I often wonder that in all the countries I've lived in, like I've seen such amazing art, and I always wonder, is that because they're in this country surrounded by this beautiful architecture, or is it, they were encouraged? But yeah, I love that it's like where the person feels the most free to express themselves, you're probably going to find the best art. Yeah, and I would agree with that. Yeah, for sure. So we're almost out of time, but I just wondered, was there anything else you wanted to share with our audience before we wrap up? Or, I mean, in terms of a message from your community or some encouragement for people who want to bring creativity to fruition in the world?
I really believe that everybody's magic is their creativity, right? So again, that magic is their self-expression, right? However they choose to deliver it to people. And you have so many possibilities like before you. It's just amazing. And if you really give yourself the chance to take that next step and up level in some way, however that feels good to you, you will surprise yourself, right? So again, I mentioned about paradigms, but you have to make the decision to change your story if you want your story to change. Because if you just don't do anything different, then you can't expect your life to change, right? And I know that for me, going through all the stuff I went through, especially in my 20s, that was like a really long journey. I think that I always thought that doing small little incremental things was going to make those big huge changes and create that big huge success I was looking for, and it wasn't the case. Like, you have to be ready to like move a mountain, and honestly, on the other side of that, you'll have changes, you'll have success, right? But all those little incremental things are not going to do much. Like, you have to make a big gesture for yourself.
Yeah, no, I think that's wonderful. So I understand that you have a free gift for our audience today. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about that?
Okay, so I have two free things today. So first one is, like, everything that we've talked about today. If you're like, oh, I still don't know where to start, I have a little gift called Find Your Creative Gold. And so it's all about creating a plan around who you are, understanding how you want the world to see you, and then creating an income out of your passions and skills. So that's going to really help you just start to understand things. It's not fully like immersed in like the alignment work that I do, but it's going to help a lot. So that's a free thing. And then I would also love to offer you guys all one free week in my membership site called Soul Circle Membership. You just go through the motions to get into the membership site. You get 1 full week, no obligation. You can check it out, see if you like the vibe. It's very intuitive, magical. It's all about manifesting. It's all about creating that life that you really desire, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. And there's so much training and material and just amazingness in there. Meditations, visualizations, workbooks, different magical chats and conversations. It's like filled with, it's got thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of stuff in there. So you're welcome to 1 week free, absolutely no obligation to that too.
That is amazing, Sarah, and I can't wait to sign up for that myself. I'll put the link in the link to this video as well, so people can access it when they see the video. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. It was an absolute pleasure.
Well, thank you for having me. I hope I didn't talk too much.
No, you didn't. And actually, before I forget, where can people find you?
Oh, so my website is wildandcreative.com. So WILDAND. creative.com. If you go on there, it's essentially like my hub for everything. So you can get to my podcast through there. So I have a podcast called Wild and Creative. Check that out. Tons of amazing conversations that I have on there with different people, always, growing and expanding in different ways. And there's a ton of programs that I have as well, but everything's essentially, you can get to it through my website. So wildandcreative.com. You can also find me in my private group. I'll just mention it's called Wild and Creative Golden Souls on Facebook.
Perfect. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much again. And yeah, look forward to hearing more about that later on. Okay, well, thanks everybody for joining today, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.